Why are people living in indigenous deserts better hydrated than the average American? Today, I'm joined by anthropologist Gina Bria, founder of the Dehydration Foundation, and Kenny Liu, the visionary behind the Spring Aqua hydration system. You'll learn the cutting-edge science behind structured water and why it's essential from everything from brain function to cellular repair. Personally, I've spent a large part of the past year researching water filtration systems, and ultimately, I purchased a Spring Aqua system myself because of their ability to turn ordinary tap water into fresh spring-like water. Stay tuned until the end because Gina and Kenny will guide you through the practical steps you can take right now to experience the life-changing benefits of optimal hydration. Let's dive in. You're listening to the Born to Heal podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Katie Deming. After 2 decades of practicing as an oncologist and caring for thousands of patients, I've seen firsthand how our healthcare system places obstacles in your path to true healing. My guests and I will bridge the worlds of Western medicine and alternative healing to help you achieve optimal health. Expect to uncover new insights, share a few laughs, and maybe even shed some tears along the way. But most of all, we'll learn how to heal from within together. So let's dive into today's episode. I am thrilled today to be joined by Gina Bria from the Dehydration Foundation and Kenny Liu from Spring Aqua. Welcome, Kenny and Gina.
Oh, glad to be here.
Glad to be here.
What I would love to do is start by just having you introduce yourselves and a little bit about how you're connected, the two of you, and the work that you do.
So the Dehydration Foundation was founded in 2016, basically to launch TED Talks on water, especially on structured water. And our first one out of the gate, of course, was Gerald Pollack, who had identified already in his lab at the University of Washington a phase of water that was, let's say, under-recognized and also underutilized. So this fourth phase of water is an extremely important new set of information. Of course, water's always been the same. It's been there. We just didn't know that as water goes through the vapor form off to the liquid form, then it can manage itself into ice if it has the right temperature. There was a whole stage in between liquid and ice that's literally, we can call it the plasma stage. And this stage is what all our cells are filled with. And it does a different kind of labor than, say, vapor would do, which does its own kind of labor, or liquid would do its own kind of labor. So this plasma state turns out to be extremely important to recognize and to know about and to begin to utilize, because it is the state inside every one of our cells. In fact, all living things, all living tissue, the cell structure is filled with this fourth phase or more jelly-like or plasma state. And this is really exciting because, first of all, it tells us things about our bodies we didn't know before. We just knew there was liquid in there sloshing around, but we didn't know that it gelled up. And then the value of that gelled water, and it doesn't have to be thick like Jell-O. It's just on a spectrum, the value of it. And I hope our whole conversation will center around this, is that it conducts electricity. That is the work of the fourth phase of water. And that's very exciting. So once I kind of stepped into this new science, and I came into it as an anthropologist from my work on how do desert people hydrate using gel plasma from plants like cactus, I began to recognize that we need water recovery systems in our modern life. I got introduced to Kenny, and Kenny, I was so impressed because and I meet many people who are doing a transfer into structured water states, and we need it all over the place. But why I love Kenny is because he had figured out a natural way to do this without the interference of having to plug something into the wall, which, by the way, has its own problems. It interferes with the water's electromagnetic charge, the natural charge. And so this gravity-fed system that emulated water in natural environments, like spinning down a waterfall or coming down a mountainside, how streams roll through. this vortexing part of and to contact with minerals and rocks is a beautiful, I would say biomimicry, but it's not. It's actually just bio. No need to mimic. This is what we're doing now. So meeting Kenny and seeing that his device kept the intact natural forms of going about getting water to pass into this state that it wants to anyway, we started working together on agricultural devices to get water into the soil again. And he's just been a fantastic partner in doing that. So we have a good relationship. We talk about water day and night. We're on the phone all the time, and we're scheming on behalf of how to recover water. So that's meeting Kenny.
That is beautiful. I love that. And so tell us a little bit about that in terms of the agricultural work.
Once you vortex water in contact with minerals, because they're picking up the information and charges, and you put that into an irrigation system, you now literally have a different phase of water going into the soil. Well, guess what's in the soil that needs hydration? All those microbes are basically dehydrated. So that whole material agency of soil, what soil is and what it's made up of, is deeply dehydrated around the world. Our typical farming practices now have interfered with the natural ways that water was collected and held. And so when we put this phase of water back into the soil, instead of just the liquid phase, often, run through, tap water treatment facilities that have also disorganized the water molecules so that they're chaotic and they can't cohesively bring hydration through. And by the way, all the information that they help that information channel with the mycelium under the ground. So I'm throwing a lot of words around here, but you can instantly get, oh my God, if we had better water we'd get better soil.
That makes sense. And on this show, I've been talking a lot about water recently on this show, and we've been talking about in relation to our body, but I love that you're bringing this up, is that the water, our soil is dehydrated, and it also, all of the living organisms that are living on our planet in the soil also need the same things that we do. And it makes sense that the water that we are, using to feed the soil is really important. And so I love that. I love that you're bringing that piece in. And, I've heard you, Gina, describe before what water is. You described this whole idea of the plasma phase of water conducting electricity. But I'm wondering, could you tell us, what is water in your mind?
Oh, that's so straightforward. So water is a material. I mean, we all can put our hands in it. We can touch it. We get it. It's also a fuel. We don't realize that the charges in water, the electrical charges in water, which is what Jerry Pollack identified, that those charges are the fuel for cell and tissue making and tissue repair and tissue building, right? So it's that material, plus it's a fuel, plus this is the breakthrough new science that's really exciting. It's an information network. And water as an information network, we're just touching the beginning of exploring this very exciting way to understand that when the water molecules, when they're not chaotic, when they begin to line up, they can pass information through these electrical magnetic charges much more coherently between cells inside of our cells and then between cells in, say, mycelium systems, where the network underground can send information on to a tree in trouble, or a set of crops that a pesticide is coming, or just the general, hey, how you doing? This is the weather today, everybody. The amount of information that's being passed around the world would put anybody in Silicon Valley to shame if they really understood this is what water is doing. This is its real work.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think that this is something that is so new for people even to think about water as information, and then the coherence of the water that we hold in our body, how if we're holding coherent water, we're receptive to receiving this information. Mm-hmm. Whereas if the water is not coherent, we're not receiving that. And that there's this big piece in that. So I love that. And Kenny, do you want to tell us a little bit about your journey into water? How did you land here?
Well, learned a lot from Gina. Gina, when we met, it was a little bit later. I found out we're both kind of doing water. She was doing the hydration foundation. I was doing making the products. So it was two different universes going at the same time. And it was only when one of my customers, Dr. Mann, connected us. He said to us, we need to meet just because there's something that we may have a great connection. And so it was just a mutual meeting the first time on the phone, which lasted about over an hour conversation. It was pretty cool. But what I learned is hydration is very important. I think Gina's book, Quench, that talks about hydration, all the different remedies, the name Hydration Foundation, she really helped me understand the greater masses on the larger picture that everyone's dehydrated and we got to get everybody better hydrated. And so meeting her with that was a huge blessing because it really helped our company transform into much more of a broader, heart-centered, more of a kind of a embracing, right? Everyone, because if you're talking about hydration, it's literally everything from anything plants or humans or pets. It's everyone's included. I was just doing business for many years and I'm always good at building networks. And, in Asia, you have to have a network to do business. I was traveling between US and Asia just to bring technologies from both sides, kind of building that bridge. And it was around 2014. I was going to a translating meeting. After that meeting, there's a gentleman called Mr. Shao. We call him BBH, just Big Brother Shao. He said, Kenny, you're that kid I want to work with. That's kind of how the whole journey started. And so he said, come back to me in Taiwan and let's meet up and let's talk. So I flew back and he took me to McDonald's. We sat down for breakfast. Then I found out, his background, he had made EKGs, ultrasound, the first guy to make the Rubik's Cube work. He got the development rights from the Austrian-Hungarian developer, inventor back in the late 60s. So I was onto something where I felt like there's someone that I could learn a lot from and potentially, do some really cool things. And then the water came from my dad's friend, Sam, who had one of his good friends, Professor Henry, had the original concept of the ecosystem in the box. And so when he brought that to us, I looked at it as, this is obviously is important, but we didn't have the engineer yet. So that's kind of where my godfather came in. The professor had the idea. Someone has to make it, has to deliver it, and has to make it grow up. So my role in the situation, how the water started, was I'm the guy that married the scientist and the engineer. Like I bridged that relationship and helped fund the startup back in 2014. Yeah. And so, this is a real simple concept was, they were looking at the springs around the Lourdes Springs in France. Then they were looking at springs in Northern Springs. They had people that worked in the Himalayan mountains. And then you meet Gina. She's working as an anthropologist with the Indigenous deserts. And isn't it cool to how do you figure people living in desert, what do they do to hydrate themselves? Do you eat the soil? There's no water, right? So all these different concepts were kind of brought together and I realized, the desert people are actually eating plants. And that water in that plant, as you guys were talking earlier, is that plasma structured water. So I thought that was pretty cool by learning that to Gina. But then that really helped us understand what we're making because we're in the same way mimicking natural spring water by using different rock layers and, different type of mineral stones that we figured out how to kind of copy the Lourdes or copy different springs. That's what Professor was doing. So when Gina came into the picture, it really helped us understand, that's the same thing as plant water or structured water or water we have in our, like the cucumbers we eat every day. Or sometimes when we're thirsty, we eat an apple and we know that apple hydrates us more than a glass of water. We have that feeling sometimes. So she also taught you can also eat your hydration if you eat the plants and fruits. So that's kind of how we started. And eventually we had to figure out how to build this stuff and really learned. And a lot of our customers started calling this particular concept like a ecosystem in a box. So think about 14 to 15 filters on your sink. It's like, wow, this is a pretty cool concept. And then nicknames came out. Oh, this is like my mountain in the box under the sink. So those are cool names. Or people will say, I just turned my tap water into spring water, And along the way, we learned how to obviously produce really clean water because that's a concern for everybody. We also learned how to do the proper type of remineralization, to get the coherence of the water right. We also found and discovered how to make hydrogen gases dissolved in the water using different types of minerals just because we had some technology background related to Professor Henry. how to make that work. So it just became a really cool, kind of a cool product. And with the Hydration Foundation, when we collaborated with them, we learned, the larger vision here is getting more and more people hydrated. And then the agriculture side of it was helping Mother Earth. We learned with all the different frequencies and the different 5G and 3G and Wi-Fi pollution on the planet, it's affecting the water on the earth, right? So the other vision that Gina and I learned quite a bit was how can we take this water and help plants and help earth and help plants grow faster and create better food. So that's kind of the relationship we've had over the last few years. And the funny thing is we're both doing the same thing, just on different paths. And we met a few years down the road.
Well, I love the synchronicity of, how you came together to amplify the work that both of you are doing, and how that aligns. Actually, you said something in there, Kenny, that I want to ask about. You talked about 5G and it affecting the hydration of the soil. Can you talk a little bit about the effects of 5G and then drinking the proper water and how that can impact that? Because that is one of the things that, especially for myself, as I've stepped out of Western medicine and looking at the things that make us sick, we're surrounded by these potential toxins, including 5G as one of them. And I'm wondering how water plays a role in maybe mitigating the effects of 5G, since you brought that up with the agriculture.
I'll make a couple statements, and I got to pass it on to expert Gina because she knows a lot more about this. But I mean, I always tell people it's not that 5G is bad. We all use it. There's benefits of it, but certainly we have to, there's things we have to do to remedy some of the effects, right? And so, when you drink structured water, you actually bring coherence back into your body, which helps, fight against the 5G. And I think, Gina, you want to share, because you have so much more in detail about how that's affecting the earth, the water, and all the experiments that people have done.
What if healing cancer didn't have to be so overwhelming and confusing? What if you could access a higher level of consciousness to accelerate healing? And what if you had a clear roadmap to follow, a path to lead you out of the fear and uncertainty? Hi, I'm Dr. Katie Deming. As an oncologist who's cared for thousands of patients, let me guide you safely through the fog. My 6 Pillars of Healing Cancer workshop series is now available, and it's not too late to join. Choose from a range of powerful workshops, each designed to support your healing journey, covering nutrition, emotional well-being, hydration, physical practices, the mind-body connection, and spirituality. Select only the workshops that align with you, or for a limited time, buy the entire bundle and enjoy significant savings. Don't miss this proven holistic roadmap to clarity and deep inner calm to support your healing process. Check the link in this episode's description to learn more and sign up today. Remember, you've got this.
Yeah, I'd love to pick up the conversation where we were talking about the work of structured water, both passing electricity and releasing electromagnetic forces and fields. This is a really documented work. It's well documented and was well documented in Russia for quite a while, in Italy, Korea. They were already looking at electromagnetic forces of water. And the famous studies with the water bridge, where we can see water stretched between 2 beakers, and how could that bridge hang there between, water's just liquid. Those studies have helped us understand that these force fields are changing the viscosity of water, changing the thickness and the dimensions, and that thickness or density does different kinds of work. So when you interfere with those naturally occurring electromagnetic fields, which are given off by the water molecule, by something like foreign electromagnetic fields coming in, now you're going to have an effect on the ability of water to connect and signal and send that information. So the 5G is concerning, and the flip side of that is that having a full range of the kinds of water inside your body, including structured water, help mitigate those incoming fields. They buffer it. Water buffers it in a really profound way. I would like to just point out one other aspect of the documentation that got done at the Pollack lab with Dr. Gerald Pollack. Maybe if I could do a shortcut to different phases of water doing different kinds of work. When water is in this gel-like phase, not only is it able to conduct much more cohesively electrical information, magnetic information, and these fields, but it is the stage of water designed by nature to self-purify. This is when water purifies itself. It is called the exclusion zone, and it will press out any materials that are not supposed to be in water. So water can clean itself. That's amazing. And actually, it's doing it inside your body all the time. And that's what health is called. So the fact that water can clean itself is a very important part of this conversation on how we're affected by electromagnetic fields. So if you are electrically sensitive, we need to help you up the amount of structuring in your body, of those water molecules aligning.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Well, and I love the way that you described that and then tied it back to the name that Gerald Pollack gave the fourth phase of water of exclusion zone, because some people are like, why are we calling it easy water? And it's like, because it excludes. And I love that idea or concept that water cleans itself. It's so beautiful and it's so intelligent. It's just beautiful. So yeah, absolutely. That makes sense.
All the research is looking at the electromagnetic forces in water. This is the frontier research and everybody's putting their efforts. It's very, very exciting. The next barn door after that one is the exclusion zone discovery. We haven't even started to exploit that yet. Laying out the fact that water can fix itself. And if I could just make a little case of this, a picture for you, this is what's happening with microplastics. Why are there tiny microplastics all over the planet? It's because water's been taking plastic and breaking it, dissolving it until, we're into micropellets. But if you give it enough time, it will clean up the plastic. This is what water is for, part of what it's for. I love it. It's such a great partner because it does so many things. It purifies us. It cleanses us. It allows us to be better communicators. It allows us to receive far more information from the world around us. Literally, if you're well hydrated, you see more color. You perceive silhouettes more sharply. Name it. It's all on hydration and the right kind of hydration. So I'm not saying we don't need liquid. I'm saying that we need the full way that nature works, that whole stretch, that it goes through all these phases, returns to itself clean, and then starts all over again as vapor. It's really cool.
It is so cool. And I love that you just said that about when we're well hydrated, it improves all the functions, like seeing more color. And I just had a conversation on the podcast with Isabel Friend, and she was talking about emotional processing and how when we're well hydrated, we can manage our emotions more fluently as well. So there's so many pieces. Can you talk a little bit about some of the different things that the body does better when it's hydrated? Because I think that would be really helpful for the listeners.
Okay, sure. So if we start with the brain, imagine having less static in your brain. Literally a lot of mental health issues are about the electrical storms going on that can't quite, the information across to the synapse. No brain is going to feel safe under those conditions, right? So this threat clutch that we're all in can be alleviated if we were all better hydrated and more resilient and could have access to our higher thinking. We're all operating on chronic low dehydration. We're just cruise. We keep pushing through, but we're not in that amazing fluid flow state where you go through your day with resilience and pleasure. We're all deprived.
Agreed.
So that's just one. That's the brain. Then we can talk about, do you need lymphs? Do you need water for your lymph system? Mm-hmm. Do you need water for your blood system? Yeah, that's a good idea. Do you need water for your eye sockets to see with precision? You know, there's 3 canals in your ear, literally canals. It's a water-based system for receiving sound. That's how we can hear. Vagal nerves go to the nerve system, fascia. There isn't anywhere where the hydration is not running the system. And that is really my work at the Hydration Foundation, is to help people you are far more made of water than you imagine. You're far more made of water. And if we can and guzzling will not help. We want to get into all these different ways of hydrating so that people have a sense. Oh, it's not just guzzling water. It's being a water being alive in a water system in a water world. Now you can see why I love working with Kenny, because he's got the whole picture, right? This is a very different colleague. And I also really love Spring Aqua because they're one of the few companies that can actually scale at the level we need the help right now. So that's really important too. They have, manufacturing facilities and customer service, and they have somebody who'll call you back.
Yeah, well, actually, that is how I met Kenny, because I was on the site. I had already decided after doing my research that I wanted to get a Spring Aqua system, because it is the one system that does it all, that basically puts a spring, under your sink without the electricity and the issues that cause. And so I had put it actually on for my assistant to, connect up. But I was like, I'm just going to call. And I happened to get at like 5:00 on a Thursday evening. Who did I get on the phone? Was Kenny. And I was like, this guy is very knowledgeable. And he's talking about, the last time he was with Jerry Pollock. And I was like, wait, are you the owner? And so talk about customer service, and really, I learned so much just from and he spent an hour on the phone with me, teaching me so much. And I think that's the beautiful thing about what you're doing, Kenny, is that it's helping the planet and helping people get access to water that should be available naturally for us, but given the environment that we're living in is not, and creating it in such a way that also, you're educating and connecting all these pieces. I just think that it's the work is so beautiful, and it goes so far beyond just this product. And, you see yourself as the bridge, bringing the professor and the engineer together, but you're really serving as a bridge for so many things here. And one thing that you said on the call that we had stuck with me is you said, think about if everyone was drinking this water and then putting that out in, we're all systems of water, and we're releasing our water through, our urine and that kind of thing. And if that is coherent, then this is what's putting back into the soil and the earth. And just thinking about the whole ecosystem and how it all works together is so beautiful.
There's so much to embrace, because it's so broad when it gets to water, from different types of people, generations of people, different genres as well, categories of lives, also now we're talking about food, talking about agriculture. So Gina, I learned really to embrace everybody. We're a big believer, if people want to get better hydrated today, they should do it. There's no need to wait. One of the things she wrote in the book called Chia Seeds. Put chia seeds in a cup of water. I'm doing right now when I travel, and it works. And you just put in any I usually get spring water on if I can and put it inside. But that's kind of the heart of our company. We want to just help people. They need to be hydrated today. There's ways you can do it. They could also, get one of our systems, or they can just find other remedies. And then now when we eat, because of plants and fruits and vegetables are all considered structured water or natural water, or, I try to balance my diet a lot more now, because I got to eat my salads, I got to eat my fruits and vegetables, because all that helps the hydration of the body, right? And one thing you guys talked about earlier about the cleaning of the water, how it cleans itself. I always think about, it's interesting how when water starts on the surface of the earth and it goes to all the different rock layers, somehow when it hits the well, it's clean. Right. So I always tell people, think of that. Just visualize what's going on there. And Gina's talking about all the different type of electromagnetic frequencies being emitted. Well, different minerals and different stones, as the water goes through, every layer has a different type of, every mineral has its own electromagnetic field. And as water touches every little layer, it kind of the coherence changes. It changes until it gets, so that's in a sense of a natural way of understanding the exclusion zone. What's happening, what's going on over there. So I tell people that's what's going on when they have a Spring Aqua system. It's literally 14 to 17 filters mimicking the natural rock layers of the mountain, but it's just in a much smaller box under the sink. It's a little bit different. The process is different. So yeah, the hydration is so important. And I know from a lot of customers and also a lot of people that I work with and just even my family members, after the water, we feel like, we probably drink a lot in the very beginning, but we drink a lot less water now because Gina will say you have to drink and eat, and the ways to get hydrated, like eat the right type of food, drink the right type of water, and also get in the sunlight, right? Go take a walk, go exercise, get the water, get the sunlight in your body as well. So all these methods, we tell people it's important to apply it all. It's better for everybody right away.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that, one question for listeners, because this is the question that I'm getting the more that I talk about water, people are like, oh my gosh, there's so many options. And someone who's not ready, to do a full Spring Aqua, they're just kind of on this journey. Like, what is the simple if someone, wants to get started with their water, is kind of working their way up? What would you describe as like the most important things that they could do?
I think in people's minds, when we talk to this couple, two things that usually pop up. Usually they want to know how to get the water cleaned. It's kind of a common thought process. And obviously then some people may just stop right there. Then most people would kind of go a little further. Once it's cleaned, I would really want to understand how could it hydrate me, right? Right. So cleaning water, there's three basic ways. I mean, there's obviously this distillation of the water is one way. It's really, that's 100% purity. You got reverse osmosis. People do that all the time, right? Then they take everything out. That's good and bad. And if you have this topic with Gina, there's no coherence. The water's completely denatured. But the benefit is it's clean. It's a very effective and cheap way of doing it that gets rid of toxins. But you got to do something else with that water afterwards, right? So don't just stop. You can also use some high pressure membrane like nano filters. They're very expensive. They work really well. That process doesn't do what the reverse osmosis or the distill do. It completely denatures the water, but just takes out what's important that needs to come out. And that's kind of the technology we use. A little bit different. Yeah. So once it's clean, then the next question is, how do I do it? What do I need to do to create the coherence or make the water more hydrating? I've seen some people put their water in the sun. I've seen people do that. I've seen people definitely go buy chia seeds after reading that book, Quench, or the Talking to Us. It's a very, very inexpensive way of doing it. I also see people put some lemon in the water, right? There's ways to do it, or add some a pinch of Celtic sea salt or Himalayan salt in the water to create that. So there's ways to do that. There's other devices in the market you can purchase that's with traveling that can help as well. Yeah. Or they can go the full blown, get one of ours is in the house that produces it 24/7 nonstop. Yeah. So I think there's many ways to do it. And we're a believer of embracing all the methods. I think people need to be hydrated. And if you feel better hydrated tomorrow, or not, how about just the next 5 minutes, feel better hydrated? It's going to change, like you said, the way how the brain functions. It's going to change the way they see things. It's going to make them feel better. Yeah. So we're all about those type of remedies. And sometimes I tell people, just go eat some apples and oranges, just consume better food. And then after that, go for a walk, go take a walk for 30 minutes and you'll feel a lot better. And I think I learned a lot from how Gina explains that, because she really looked at the ways to hydrate your body.
I love that.
Yeah. I'm coming at it as an anthropologist, right? So my first step into this entire discussion field, whatever we want to call it, came from looking at indigenous methods of hydrating. And that led me to understanding that they were using cactus and chia seeds, which is a gorgeous desert plant. Imagine if we were planting chia seeds instead of great fast soy fields. Not only it's a hugely nutritious food, but that's a dream for another day. But what I'm saying is that it was already a shock to find out that there are certain plants that are super hydrants, so that you don't need to be drinking, because no indigenous person I saw was carrying water bottles, right? I mean, look at us. So we're really misunderstanding this whole approach. So using food turns out to be an incredibly important strategy and a good one I can hand you because anything, any plant turns out to be a structured water device, right?
Yeah.
Any plant. However, I would hope that I could help you and your audience understand that you yourself, think of yourself as a glass. You yourself are a body of water and you yourself are able to be a filter. And there's ways that nature is conspiring to do that work on your behalf to change put water through its whole phases in your body because it wants you to be alive. So it's figured out a bunch of things. So there's two really important pieces here I'd really love to add to what Kenny has said. One is sunlight and the rays coming from the sun, especially the infrared rays, go through your skin and they reorganize the liquid water in your body to become more plasma-like. So that is literally how a cell grows. It's literally how a cell splits into two. And now you have a human, in the amniotic fluid. I mean, the whole thing is a water system, right? That all happens because of the vitality of our exposure to the sun and other electric fields. And so moonlight also, you can raise your arms and go, this is crazy, but every indigenous culture will discuss moon and plant growth with you over a fire as long as you want. They have all the information about how it works. And then grounding is essential. Getting your feet bare, just fling yourself down on the spring grass, please. Just lay down, take off your shoes, put your hands on the grass and ride the back of Mother Nature. Ride the back of Mother Earth. Love to take you for a spin and you will walk up having been deeply charged, realigning the water inside of you to make it all more efficient for cell growth, cell healing, repair, and cell signaling so they all know what they should be doing when. And then, again, eating things like chia seed. We've actually tested chia seed to know that that's structured water. Putting salt, a pinch of sea salt in your glass of water. You don't have to put it in every glass. Cap full of apple cider vinegar. All these things are set up to inform your body. They're signals that are really valuable and send in electric charge and help you and your tissues recover. This is what we need.
I love that. And that is, I think this is the thing that's really helpful is for people to understand these tangible things that they can be doing to improve their body of water. And we've talked a lot about sunlight and grounding on the show. And I love this with the chia seeds. We've talked about the pinch of sea salt, but not the apple cider vinegar. I'm doing a capsule of that as well. So I thank you for sharing these. And I love your perspective coming, from the space of being an anthropologist and looking at, I think nature is our best teacher and looking to how did we do this before we had the technology, right? And like you said, that they didn't carry water bottles or camelbacks. They were eating the food in their environment that held the water, and that we can use these simple, natural ways to get the water in the way that our body needs it for the proper signaling and the way that our bodies were designed to work. And one of the things for me, I care for people with cancer. And I think when people get sick, especially with cancer, they start to mistrust their body and think that something is wrong. And what I love about these simple things that you're talking about is like, no, our bodies are actually designed to function divinely and in such a beautifully orchestrated way, but we need to give it the right inputs, right? And we're human beings living on planet Earth, and we are 99.9% water by molecule. That it just makes sense when you start to understand it. But I think that we've gotten so disconnected in modern industrialized society that we forget the simple, nature of all of this, that if we can simplify and bring it back and understand the importance of water as the foundation of life for us it's really beautiful. So I love the work that both of you are doing. I'm so grateful to have spent this time with you. And I know that my listeners are going to love this episode. I'm wondering, can you tell us where they can find both of you? And we'll link in the show notes to these as well, so the links will be there.
There's a link that that I can give you that I think could just be that kind of feedback to this particular podcast, and how you experienced by getting on the phone with us. Same thing will happen for all the potential interested clients. You can always just go onto the website. You can always schedule a call. It's going to be either me, Erin, which Gina knows really well too. She's an amazing person. The other one is Autumn, but one of us will be there to help answer any questions, like what we did with Dr. Katie, what we did with you. We'll give that wholesome approach, the heart-centered approach, provide the education so that people can be properly educated and they can make a good decision on whatever they want to do. We understand that people have, obviously in this market, there's a lot of different things people may have invested in the past. We're very sensitive to that. I give an analogy. Sometimes we buy a 50-inch TV for $1,000 this year, but next year an 80-inch comes out for half the price. We totally get it. So we embrace all different people. And the key comes down to just build that relationship and educating the people. I think that is where, at the end of the day, let them understand that they can do things for themselves. They can make good decisions, right? And just to help them along. So our company we have that big heart, and we've learned to have that heart because it's dealing with water. Yeah. And so that heart-centered approach on an educational approach and also permission approach. We want to make sure we actually have the permission to educate them as well, so that they know that we're all about the love, all about the education, and we'll always be there, So they can schedule a time with us anytime on our website, and we'd love to chat or send the information they might need. And I think with Gina, you can just go get her book.
Thank you, Kenny. As you're talking, I had an insight, and I'm excited to say it, which is, when you're well hydrated, you have time for relationship. You have time. You have time to talk to people. You have time to listen. There's a buffer in your tissues. There's not this clutch all the time. I've got to get to the next thing, or I've got to hurry up and make a sale, or I've got to hurry up and write this, this email has to go. The kids will be home on the bus by 3. That clutch is hydrated. You're not in dehydrated, all shriveled up. We have time to be together like this. It makes sense, and we enjoy it, so yes. So I hadn't put one of the benefits of being hydrated is more time for relationship, but I realized in this conversation that I can see that's really happened. And I do see it among the Indigenous as well. So to your point, Katie, we are at foundation.org. This is our work. We love doing it. We were founded in 2016. You can find all sorts of information. We're in a big redo of our website, so we're going to have lots more of the latest research that's up there. And we'd love to have you come visit us, hydrationfoundation.org. And I also co-wrote a book called Quench, and it's a 5-day plan to optimal hydration. It discusses all this science in a very lay-friendly way. Plus, there's 50 recipes, which are really, really fun. So including in that is the recipe that I developed from the Tarahumara tribe, who run 50-mile marathons on 2 tablespoons of chia seed and some corned beer. So there you go.
Wow. Well, that is fascinating. So thanks you to both of you. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a real pleasure.
It's definitely an honor to talk. I've learned so much by hanging out with you two, and I'm here to learn more, so and grow.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on Born to Heal. It's been a privilege to share this time with you, and I hope that today's episode has offered you valuable insights on your journey toward optimal health. Please consider subscribing, sharing this podcast with your friends, and leaving us a review. To learn more about how you can work with me, please visit katiedeming.com. You can find additional resources in the episode show notes linked below, and remember to join us next week as we continue to explore more holistic approaches to healing. Until then, this is Dr. Katie Deming, reminding you that just like me, you were born to heal.